First day I sold 10 and I was stoked. And I went home and I went back the next day and I called my mentor. And I remember I was like screaming with joy in the car. Like they bought it, they paid me money, they pulled it out of their wallet and they handed it to me. And I was like, I
Love
couldn't
it.
believe it that it was
Yeah.
really happening. And I'm thinking like this thing at the time, it was a previous version that was like showing steel on the back of the thing, like because we put in the metal afterwards. Now we mold it in the mold inside the product. But so I was just like, they're buying this piece of junk, I mean, I couldn't believe it. It still works,
Yeah.
but it wasn't perfect in my mind.
Right.
So that was great. But then it went from 10 to 15, then to 20, then 25. Then I did 30. Then finally I was doing 40 and finally 50 and 60 a day I was
Wow.
selling to at this little market where people are just walking around. I started thinking, okay, if I'm doing 50 or 60 a day at this one market in this one town, I'm making $500, $10 each a day, selling these, multiply that by all these flea markets and wherever else, I should be able to sell this online and to the public at, I mean, lots of different stores.
Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Nick Barrett. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me here.
So Nick is he is the founder and CEO of CordBrick, the only one, 100% the owner. For his words.
That's right. Creator of, yep.
Creator of. So yeah, Nick is, he's a builder. And so there's a lot of alignment there with this podcast because we're the builders. And we are talking to a builder today. But as we do on every podcast when we have somebody on for the first time, we like to learn about our guest's story, how they got started, who inspired them, what inspired them to become an entrepreneur, and how that journey looked and how they landed on doing the amazing things they're doing in the world, helping others and building stuff in this case. So with that, Nick, if you want to share your story, the long version, short version, whatever you feel like today.
Well, there's a lot of ways we could go with this, but let's stick to the creation of the startup for now. But feel free to ask any questions you have along the way or about any other part of my journey. Creating something has been the most rewarding journey that I've been on. In fact, my company mission is called Build Something. And, that goal is to inspire other people mainly to create things themselves. And I'm happy to answer any questions from anybody who does want to reach out about if they have an idea, how would they proceed, or any questions they might have on that, because I really love like discussing, creating something and then hearing about what other people are creating and seeing what inspiration I can gain, or seeing if I can help them out in any other way to help, improve their creation. So many people along the way have helped me with where I'm at today, because when I first started, I didn't have any experience at really building something. This was my first business really, and definitely my first product that I've ever created.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had made, things like stress balls out of balloons and sand when I was a few years old, 4 or 5 years old, and decided to start selling them around in the neighborhood.
Really? Nice.
And so I had kind of an early entrepreneurial spirit to me.
Yeah.
I've never liked to be told what I have to do. I've always liked to kind of do things my own way, go outside the rules a little bit, just kind of see, what's out there, and put my own little twist on things. So
Yeah.
it was really a natural fit, finally getting into the, this founder creator role, but it took me a while to figure out. I didn't really decide to go full bore at it until when I started this company. And even in the early days, it wasn't certain that this was going to turn into something I could spend all my time on.
Yeah.
But here we are today, doing that. So
where do you come from? Did you work for other companies before this? Kind of what was the groundwork that created Nick? And
yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in the suburbs of DC and then Philadelphia. Very nice upbringing, great family. I'm the oldest of three and three boys, and I've got several younger cousins, like 16 total. So it's a decent
Wow.
sized family.
Yeah.
Great extended family, just very close with them. Going to a wedding here soon, and so family was always very important to me. I went to college at Penn State. Started in engineering, but majored in drinking really. So uh, it was a party school, so
Yeah.
I didn't really want to do calculus and whatnot, and so I decided to switch to an easier major that
Yeah.
was titled commercial recreation. Marketing of commercial recreation really was my
Mark.
my focus, and so I went and worked for a company in the Outer Banks, North Carolina called Kitty Hawk Kites. They're a adventure recreation company. They sell recreation for a profit.
Hmm.
Recreation is not the main part of their business. They've got a bunch of retail stores and they, sell clothes and touristy stuff.
Hmm.
But they do some really cool recreation like hang gliding and kiteboarding. So I got to learn to do those things and become an instructor for kiteboarding,
Wow.
as well
Cool.
as manage a resort for them and do all kinds of marketing activities. So, I mean, in my opinion, marketing is kind of everything. Marketing is how do we bring all this together and get our message to the actual consumer, the actual person who's going to buy
Yeah.
it. And the people who are our customers who are going to remember us, like what's our message to them and how do we reach them and um, how do we communicate to them in the best way? So I yeah, really enjoyed that. Then I had a couple different jobs, worked in sales for a website company, did some property management for a large company in St. Pete, Florida. And that was when I made my way down to Florida from North Carolina. Decided to go back to school and start my MBA, and where I really found my entrepreneurial streak officially, because I joined up with this girl and we won third place and $5,000 as part of the FAU business planning competition.
Nice.
And I mean, to be honest, it was really her product. It was her thing.
Yeah.
I just helped her with the business plan, but I kind of found that I had a knack for being able to market anything. I mean, this was baby crib bedding, and I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I'm not particularly a fan of fashion or anything like that. I had no experience or anything like that, but I was still able to help her write a successful business plan that got us to the final grouping, and we won a cash prize. So that was really cool. Met some great contacts through that. My first mentor, a guy named Ron Coquette, who mentors a lot of people going through FAU, doing through their business planning competition. But we stayed in contact, and I had originally shared my idea with him in 2015 when I first thought of the problem that I had experienced with CordBrick, which was I was in bed, my phone cord was always falling on the floor because I would get a call or a text or something, and then inevitably because the plug's on the midway through the wall behind the nightstand, my cord would just slide on the floor, and I didn't have anything to put on it or keep it in place, try to tuck it around the part of the bed or put it, all different
I
kinds of
still do
places. It
that.
just didn't work. Yeah. And so I thought, what would be really good is really simple, just a little brick that held
Yeah.
my cord here. So I looked up on the internet. There was nothing that existed like that. There were some adhesive things that you could stick on your nightstand, but I was like, no, I really want it like literally on my bed sheet, like that easy. And then wherever I move this thing, if I'm going with my phone cord, it's like I don't have to have one of those adhesive things wherever I am. I
Yeah.
could just take this brick and it's a weight. And so I just started developing that. But it wasn't until 2020 that I actually kind of started really refining the idea, figuring out how I would manufacture it, and then I created the company.
Very cool. Yeah. So, and it's good. You like a lot of entrepreneurs. You learn from a lot of different experiences and other people you've worked for and things you've built, and marketing kind of underpins everything in terms of
Right.
actually getting, marketing the message like you talked about. It's not just about building products. You can build a product, right? But then who's going to actually buy it? How do you get it out
Right.
there?
If the marketing and the distribution doesn't work, or you don't have
Yeah,
that figured out, then you're not going to make sales, and then you're not going to have a company. So.
no point. Yeah. So, yeah, very cool. So you went to college, you fell in love with entrepreneurship, and then why did you think to build, like, create a product, create a physical product instead of, like, I don't know, go online and build something digital? What was it about
Yeah.
physical products that got you?
So I say this is my first startup, but
Yeah.
technically I did create a business before. I filed a LLC and actually just recently closed it for a property management company. And I ran Airbnb rentals and
Oh, okay.
year-round, property management here in Naples, Florida, where I am. So that I actually created that business maybe 6 months or so before I created the CordBrick LLC. Um, and you know, I kind of knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since that business plan competition that I mentioned, where
Yeah.
we want something. And I also realized that I didn't have a lot of experience in developing products, or particularly in like you're talking about coding or anything with software technology. I knew I was not. You've got to be pretty knowledgeable and technical in those areas to have the idea, to understand how the systems work.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, you're going to have to really train yourself up a good bit, and you're going to learn a lot of things that other people already know right away. But it's going to take you 6 months to do that, and they know right away.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people. I've talked to business people who they'll like partner with somebody with that person's got the technology. Somebody else brings in the other knowledge, and they try to do it that way. But you're right. I mean, you have to almost learn the craft and learn what, especially in the web development world or programming or software or whatever. But it sounds like instead you took a different path.
yeah, so with the product, my thoughts were, I had several other ideas. I'm an idea
Yeah,
guy. They just keep coming. I can't stop them.
that's good.
And yeah, it's fine. But not all of them are ones that are feasible. And so over time, since I had been thinking about this idea for like 4 years, I kind of realized like, okay, if I'm going to do a business, I should do one. The reason that this one makes sense is, number one, it's such a small, simple thing. I can probably figure out myself how to do this. How complex could it be? It's silicone rubber. Maybe there's some weight. There's the channels that I need to hold the cords, but it's essentially just a block. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not like there's some technical difficulties that are unseen or really complicated. I mean, what you see is what you get with it. We have a patent on the product, so it is unique, but I mean, we have several patents. We have a design and utility patents. So the utility patent is quite strong and good and valuable. However, it's not, revolutionary or some crazy technology or anything like
like
that.
you
And
don't have to
so I just thought like,
kind of design your own materials or anything like that. Go into the
no,
lab and
yeah, yeah. I mean, most of the concepts I mean, the manufacturing is very simple for this product as well. So, we're
yeah.
very fortunate, but it took me a while to figure that out. I didn't have any real idea of how I would make this product or what the manufacturing processes were. So I kind of went in blind. I mean, that really slowed me down. Had I had some experience there, I certainly could have gone faster.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
my advice to my former self would have been like, first learn about the manufacturing processes, select a manufacturing process, design your product around that, and then go. But first, I was going directly to the manufacturer and trying to make the drawing that I had. And so that took quite a while to get going. But anyways, getting back to my thinking, I just thought it can't be that much money to create this business. I mean,
Hmm.
it's such a small product. It's not like I have to make a car, which has thousands of
Right,
parts
right.
and very expensive materials and technology and electronics. No, this is a weight. This is a brick.
Yeah.
So this can't be that expensive or difficult or challenging. And I thought, I can probably do this. And so that was really my thinking was, am I the right guy to be able to do this? And after so long, no one had created the product that I was thinking, and
Yeah.
I realized that it could not only hold cords, but you could also use it to wrap your cords. And I thought, wow, this is a different competitive advantage than these other products have,
Hmm.
and it's unique. And if I can get a patent on this product, I can protect myself from knockoffs, which is the number one threat that anybody with a low price product like mine faces. And so
Right.
we were just granted that product. So I'm lucky that, that my idea could be patented, that there wasn't any existing art or products that did it the same way that I'm doing it. How did I get lucky to figure that out? I don't know, but I realized that I did, and that there really wasn't anything existing. So we've just decided to keep moving forward because when you have intellectual property like this, you can protect it and you can prevent other people from selling it, and therefore you can keep your prices at a reasonable level where your business can actually make money. I think my prices are, very reasonable for what you get for the product, for the
Right.
convenience that it solves for you every single day. But it's not the lowest priced product on the market because it's a premium version. It does more things than the other competitors do.
So what was the process? So I was interested in the process of how you took the idea and then got it to market. Like for in the beginning, you probably had a lot of other ideas, and you said the main reason this one was attractive was because it was simple. And somebody else out there that's got product ideas, or maybe they're like you and me, that has lots of ideas. We got a big brainstorming board where we throw stuff we will get to someday. I mean, how do you make that decision? Is it the, should there, does passion matter? Do you have to care about it? Like, do you have to be really passionate about this? Is something that I want to solve. I'm excited about this. Is that a part of it?
I mean, absolutely. So let me actually step back because I think I probably didn't answer some of the questions that someone listening might have about this. So my ultimate goal with doing this business is to sell it. I mean, I want to get this company acquired. And the reason
Gotcha.
that I want to
Gotcha.
do
Yeah.
the reason that I want to do that is because um, I realize that it takes a lot of money to launch the business that you really want to launch. And you probably can't do that as your first company. And
Mm.
so I just knew that I wanted to have one successful exit first. And with choosing the lowest priced and simplest product, I knew that this was something that I could succeed at and prove that I am a someone who can launch a successful business and get acquired. As you might know, many entrepreneurs launch multiple businesses throughout their career. I mean, anyone that's successful has probably launched, it's not their first business that they chose to stick with. And even if they have, they've started launching other satellite businesses around that. So you're always kind of leveraging your knowledge and experience. But my thought was, I want to make an exit. I want to make some money so I can figure out what I really want to do, and then I can fund my own venture instead of having to go get someone else to fund it for me. And this was one that I knew I wouldn't need that much money to launch. So what did I do in the beginning to get to your current question?
Hmm.
I stumbled around in the dark completely. I really, it was completely dark. I didn't know where I was going and what I was doing. And so the first thing I did was I tried to get one 3D printed. 3D printing materials at the time, not very flexible. So I got something printed in plastic and I realized that it didn't work. So then I went to Michael's. I got modeling clay and I started to kind of form one into a rough brick shape. And I made different cavities and I used a knife and I cut it out of it. It looks disgusting, but I still got it. And then I kind of did that again 2 or 3 times. The modeling clay is not cheap. It's like $40 for a tiny
Yeah.
little thing. But so I did that 2 or 3 times. And I finally got it down to something that I thought actually looked good because I wanted it to look sleek. I mean, if it was going to be on someone's nightstand, like this has to kind of fit in, be that square, rectangular sort of shape, and have what I call cord channels. So little cutouts where there's some silicone that then there's a gap and then there's a little cavity below it where the cord actually rests inside, but there's some silicone that's resistance on the top. So the cord doesn't just pop out because you put it in
Right.
there. Obviously you want to be able to get it out, but you don't want to have it fall out on its own, right? So it took a little bit of tweaking to kind of get that going. So the next step was I went to a manufacturer, and this is where I mentioned I made a huge mistake. What I should have done is what I did next, and I'll just explain what I did next,
Yeah.
but in a second. But I went to this manufacturer, and I kind of took him this design that I had, and I had filed a provisional patent on, and I said, "Can you make this?" And he said, "No, I can't." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because there's a lot of if you look at it, the way that we do it is called injection molding, and if we do this, the thickness is different in different areas, and what you're going to have is you're going to have basically jelly on the inside because it's so thick that it won't dry. It'll be wet, and the product will not work. And in fact, probably what will happen is it will cave in because of this, and so it will be deformed, and won't work." So
Yeah.
he's like, "Here's what you could do. You can punch a bunch of holes in it and make it look like a honeycomb." And I said, "That's ugly. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Dust will get in there. No. How about we just put a piece of weight in there, some steel or something like that? We make these cavities and we make the thickness kind of the same all the way around the edges, including these cord channels. And where there's thick areas, we make holes and we put pieces of steel in." So I did that. Well, we made this mold. We got it shipped from China. It came over. We started to produce it. It also did not work. And the reason it didn't work was because I didn't do a prototype of this part first and realized that some of the areas I had made with the silicone, because of the weights, I had two weights and it was causing it to bend quite a lot. And additionally, where I was putting the cords in, the cords were coming out way too easy. I had just made these things that came to a very fine point right at the opening, and that wasn't enough to really keep the cords from easily falling out. And so, in my view, the product did not work. It was failing. I was not comfortable enough to sell it to people. So
Right.
that's when I went and did what I really should have done all along was I found someone to help me develop the product. And the way that they did this was, and they developed it for manufacturing in mind. And what we did was we prototyped, we used a 3D printer to create an outside shell. And then we used silicone, a liquid silicone to inject it into this 3D printed shell that we had made. And we prototyped several different channels, channel sizes, gaps, and distance from the top of these channels to figure out what is the perfect arrangement for a cord to fit in. And, what is the consumer going to like is be the best feel for that.
Right.
And then we kind of realized, okay, we don't want this center channel. We just want one weight in the middle. And that's what you see today with the product is you see a center area and there's a big piece of steel, cylindrical, basically just a chopped piece of a bar, a little dowel. Looks like a mini aluminum tin can or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just is inside the center. And then we've got these two parallel channels on the top and matching parallel channels on the bottom. And what makes the product really unique is these larger end channels. And that allows you to, when you're traveling, just snap a cord into it. You snap, wrap, and then you trap in the other end channel. So you've got your cord trapped on the brick, two ends separate. And then when you get to your destination, you just unwrap and it unwraps untangled instantly because you just wrapped it over everything when you're wrapping it up. And then when you let it go, it unwraps and it has no tangles in it. So it just comes undone instantly. And so when I started doing that with the product, and then I realized that the product could even grab your phone. You can flex open these jaws and you could stand your phone. It happened kind of by accident because we had to make a thicker and taller product. And I realized it could stand on its end. And then when we made these larger end jaws, it just happened to fit a phone. And I thought, wow, you can sell this use too because this is for your phone cord specifically. Not computer cords, really, not laptop cords, really. Right. It's really for the cords you use every day. Some people's phone chargers and their AirPods and tablets. Yep.
Around my desk.
Yep. Yeah, and they create that cord spaghetti or they create just other cord problems, right? So, with CordBrick, no adhesive, so you can just move it wherever you want. You can fit up to 6 cords in there, maybe even more. It's designed for smaller cords, but it can work for some bigger cords. And then once we got to this model, we finally were able to go to China. I had tried to produce in the US for my first product. And, I wanted to do something made in the USA. I'm a patriotic guy. Right. I want good labor conditions for my workers and factories and fair pay. But with a product this low price, I found that I just could not beat, and not only not beat, I mean, I'm talking like orders of magnitude lower of pricing in China for something like this. And when you include all the packaging, the labor involved to make the products, put them in packaging, fold up the little pieces of paper, put them in boxes, all that. It really is quite a lot of savings that you get by doing it this way. Things might change in the future and maybe we'll be able to produce the products ourselves, but I couldn't afford to do a separate manufacturer and I didn't have the resources to buy my own equipment here in the beginning. So, that might be an option or even producing in Mexico someday. However, I will say I have absolutely loved working with my supplier in China. They are amazing people. They are honest and trustworthy and they have done a tremendous job for me. When we've done video tours through the factory, everyone is of age and everything like that. So, it seems like good quality company and they're producing something very good quality for me. At a great price, and it has allowed me to start this business. So.
Right. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. It's really cool. It's really cool to. It's interesting because there's parallels. Like it doesn't matter what type of product you're creating. Like if I'm creating, like I sell WordPress plugins. We build plugins and sell them. But when we're building the plugin, and we're trying to decide on the features and we're testing this and we're trying different things. It's a messy process. And I think that's something, if somebody's interested in whether it's a physical product or digital, just get started. Like you were learning as you go. You were just like, I have this idea. I'm like
Yeah.
whittling things myself. I'm trying to build this thing and kind of come up with the concept, and then you're out there trying to, how do you make those connections? How did you find like the manufacturers and stuff like that?
Oh man, that's a long answer to that question, because it was really one of the hardest parts. I
Yeah,
mean, who do you trust? What type of manufacturing do I need? What type is best? What type is most affordable? Where is shipping done
yeah,
from? What is the shipping method, and all kinds of stuff around that? How about packaging, fulfillment? Where are you going to store it? So there's a lot of questions there. I mean, um, yeah, connecting with the right supplier was a kind of a stroke of luck. I found an industrial engineer eventually on Upwork.
oh,
Um, we had been making the product through a friend that I had met, um, through my uncle's friend. So it's a big, 4-step connection to some guy who made products in China. He had helped me get it made. I realized I could make the product for even less. I went to my own designer and we went directly to a couple different manufacturers for quotes, and we were able to get prototypes and quotes for the product that was maybe a third of what I had been paying before. So it really
yeah,
cut our price down a lot. And the quality went way up, as well, which was a huge surprise. So that was how I connected with them. But that was a long process. You know, I would advise any entrepreneur who's making a product to make your minimum viable product as fast as you possibly can, and make it as good as you can as fast as you possibly
hmm,
can, but go quickly and get it in people's hands. Um, and just try to see what people's pushback is to it. Um, the first two things that you have to think of when you start a business, as you know, are what is the problem that I am solving, and who is the customer that will pay money for this, and and also how much will they pay, and is that going to work? And then number two is how am I getting out of this, right? How do I make it so that I am not needed anymore at this business, and I can sell it, and someone else can just take it and go, and
right,
it's great, and the customers still love it, and there's no drop off. So those are the two things, and then the reason the second one is so important is because it decides what you're aiming at the entire time. It decides what your goals are going to be. So I've known that my goal was to exit because I want to get to another business, and so that has been my strategy is brand acquisition. How do I build a brand that people can want to acquire and doesn't require me, and can be kind of cookie cuttered onwards from there. So, developing the first product, I mean, really getting to where we're at now took me almost 2 years to kind of get that process and understand all the manufacturing. And I wasted basically a year. I wasted a whole mold, a bunch of material that was
right.
completely sunk cost. I didn't sell any of it, none. So, I've needed about 10 times as much investment as I originally thought. So some people say plan for 2 to 3 times. Maybe I just didn't have a good guess of how much it was going to be because it was 10 times. So we've had to get a lot more investment on the way, but it's been incremental. I proved it each step of the way. First year, we started selling at the flea market. I started massaging my pitch and my selling features to people because I started realizing after I figured out the phone uses, I realized, wow, you can put pens in here, you can put your AirPods in there, and it started kind of getting to the point where you can use this thing as a paperweight or as a fidget toy. It's like, okay, but that's not really what it's
Fidget toy.
for. No one's gonna buy it as a fidget toy, although it's a
Yeah,
great fidget toy. I literally
yeah.
have it here in my hands and I'm squeezing it as we're talking. It's a great.
Nice.
Um, but
Yeah,
I have a 3-step process now. I have 3 CordBricks on the table. One is holding cords, one has a wrapped cord, and one is standing a phone. And when people walk by, I pop the cord out onto the floor of the one that it was holding from, and I say, "Hey, do you ever drop your cord on the floor?" And I bend down and I pick it up and I put it back in, and I say, "This is a weighted cord holder." But not only that, snap, wrap, trap, and
right.
unwrap, and it unwraps. And people say, "Oh wow!" And I say, "Hey, look, and you can even use it for your phone." Bang! I mean, don't you want one right now?
That's awesome. You got it nailed down. So
I've only done it 10,000 times.
I'm sure
So,
you have by this point. That's very cool. Well, it's very cool because there's so many lessons in here. First of all, you got to fail your way to success, right? You got to try things, and there's a lot of things you just threw
100%.
out. This is not going to work, but you kept going, you kept at it, you didn't give up. One of the things that always fascinates me too, though, is besides the idea generation, and then sifting through all your ideas and finding that one that's golden. Um, you know, you must have, it sounds like you started kind of selling it a little bit. Like, I don't know if you said flea markets, wherever you said you were selling these,
Yeah,
you were
I
going
did.
out to get, to validate the idea, right? Is that what you were trying to
Yeah.
do there? You're trying to go out and get this in people's hands and see what their reaction is to it?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was in 2015, I took it to a local market with my molded piece of, Michael's molding clay, and I said, "Hey, how much would you pay for this?" That was the
Ah,
first thing I did. Was I started walking around asking strangers, and people said $5, $10, and then actually, most people said $20, and I was blown away. I
really?
could not believe that someone would pay $20 for this thing, and they're like, "Yeah." A lot of people were saying like, "Yes, I have this problem," and so I knew pretty much right away, okay, I'm asking these strangers, like, I mean, I guess they're being nice, but, you know, I'm not
So
sure. And
you're just
so,
going up to people with like a clipboard or something and just writing down the,
yep, just handed it to him. I said, hey, let me show you this. I asked people different questions. I didn't really know what to ask people at first.
yeah.
I'm like, hey, do you know what this is? And people were like, no. I'm like, okay, let me tell you what it is. And then I would go up and I'd say, hey, someone told me to come show this product. It's a cord holder. It's not mine, but what do you think of it? Because I was trying to get people's real reaction. They don't want to let me down.
Yeah.
So, but people seemed to really like it and they understood the problem. And, so after that point, I took a long break from it. But when I then started kind of recreating the product in 2020, and officially got to the flea market finally in 2021, which is I went right here in Fort Myers and then Bonita Springs, Florida. The first day I went, I was really nervous, and I had never sold the product to anybody other than my friends and family. Really, I didn't have any what my professor friends calls true customers. So like your friends and family, they're not true
Right.
customers, right?
Right.
They might
Right.
buy one, or you might
Right.
think that you have a
You
business
can't trust
because
that.
like someone's
Yeah.
buying it. But first of all, the sales are just going to drop off after that. You'll
Yeah.
see really quickly when you start to try to sell stuff that yeah, you'll be able to drum up a little bit of stuff first, but so you need true customers. You need to know how am I going to convert people that have never seen this before that and will pay me money. So that's what I did. I went to the flea market because I tried selling on my website and I was like, this is not working. I don't know how to do ads. I don't know how to sell this. It's not working. Then I
Interesting.
finally started selling some. My first day I sold 10 and I was stoked. And I went home and I went back the next day and I called my mentor. And I remember I was like screaming with joy in the car. Like they bought it, they paid me money, they pulled it out of their wallet, and they handed it to me, and I was like, I
Love
couldn't
it.
believe it that it was
Yeah.
really happening. And I'm thinking like this thing at the time it was a previous version that was like showing steel on the back of the thing, like because we put in the metal afterwards. Now we mold it in the mold inside the product, but so I was just like, they're buying this piece of junk, I mean, I couldn't believe it. It still
Yeah.
works, but it wasn't perfect in my mind.
Right.
So that was great. But then it went from 10 to 15, then to 20, and then 25. Then I did 30. Then finally I was doing 40 and finally 50 and 60 a day I was
Wow.
selling to at this little market where people are just walking around. I started thinking, okay, if I'm doing 50 or 60 a day at this one market in this one town, I'm making $500, $10 each a day selling these, multiply that by all these flea markets and wherever else, I should be able to sell this online and to the public at, I mean, lots of different stores, mass market stores, because I
Right.
was getting a really high hit rate. I mean, of the people that would stop and actually listen to my pitch, which by the way, if you ever are selling a product at a market, you need to, the first thing that you say is, can I show you my invention? You make it extremely personal and you show them that this is my product. Let me show it to you. I want to show you my product. And guess what? You're going to get some sympathy buys, but that's great. People are going to listen to you and stop, and then they're
Yeah.
going to, want to support you. So that's what started happening. And yeah, that's when I started really getting traction.
It's funny. That's amazing. You're getting me excited. Like I want to go sell something now.
Do it,
I want to
man.
build something and find take
you,
another one of my
you're
ideas
doing
out
it.
there.
You're doing it.
I'm selling. Yep. But it's funny because your energy, right? So I mentioned passion at one
You
point.
did.
Do you need passion for a product or for like how do you sell? How do you be like if you're selling toilet paper? How do you get passionate about toilet paper? Probably
So
somebody out there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but at this
This is a great question.
yeah. But I just finish my thought. And then you can respond.
Yeah, yeah.
But if the passion is actually in these actually seeing this idea through, kind of creating this idea, putting all the blood, sweat, and tears into it, and then taking it to the market and getting excited about this thing selling. It's almost like you're passionate about the actual business itself and the process and everything that went into it. That's the fun part. And I think I feel the same way about my businesses. That's it's kind of, I can get passionate about web design and development and building WordPress plugins and all that stuff. But really, it's the fun of actually doing it.
Yeah, I mean, great point. I'm glad you brought that up again because you're right. I didn't mention that the passion point, because you hear that a lot. You hear you have to be passionate about something, follow your passion. I mean, in my opinion, that is BS. What happens is passion is developed. Your passion is developed by success that you have. And the reason that it becomes a passion is because you realize that you have something special that is successful. You don't really develop a passion about something that there's nothing to, that there's no like end game or road or value or whatever. You get passionate about things that end up having success. So instead, like what I would suggest people is follow your talent, follow something that you actually are good at and can be in the top 10% at. Not to say I knew that I might be in the top 10% of product developers, but I think I might actually eventually find myself there in terms of physical products if I keep going at this, because of the success not only of CordBrick, but now of Desperate, the new product. I think I really have kind of found a niche in a way to approach certain types of products to add additional value that my competitors, for whatever reason, maybe it's where they're from, maybe it's the way they're looking at it, maybe who knows what it is, maybe it's the branding, marketing, but I've got a certain mix of the look, the brand, the quality, the multi-use that seems to be unique, right? Yeah. And am I passionate about Cord organization? I would not say that I am. Am I passionate about organization in general? Maybe. I do like to.
Is it because here's what I'm thinking too through this. So I think for me, I do enjoy tinkering with websites. I won't lie. I like it. And having a team that does it. But it's the impact as well. It's that we're literally changing people's lives just by being able to help them run their businesses and do better things. But the same with if you create a product like yours, it's improved. It's done something. It's making somebody happy. They're more organized. They're, now they don't have to worry about cords anymore. And they, or whatever that happiness factor is. But you're doing that too. And that can get you, that can kind of become the passion. It's like, I want to impact more people. I want to do more in the world.
Yeah. I mean, you have to solve a problem, right? And so the problem that I solve is when people are in bed with their phone, which they are, whether it's a good thing or not, they are. And instead of having to get up and get out of bed and get on the floor and hit their head on something, or maybe it's not that. Maybe it just wakes them up or disturbs their peace, right? Maybe they're at their desk and their cord falls behind and they're on an important call, but their phone is dying. And so they got to get under their desk. They got to fish it up from behind and look super unprofessional. And it really flusters their focus and they lose their idea and they lose a client. I mean, focus. And when you're working and when you're doing stuff, you don't have time for dumb problems like your cord falling on the ground. So it does really solve an actual use. And because it doesn't have adhesive, it lasts forever. It keeps working. It just works with gravity and weight. So, I mean, if you look at the competition, what I've done is I've provided more value to the customer. That's what I've done. Mm-hmm. And so I think that by providing the value, however impactful that value is, I mean, my value, the value that we have provided with CordBrick is that, thousands, tens of thousands of people are experiencing this. So whether your idea is for one and it's a really good idea and it impacts them incredibly and it saves their life or cures something with them, that's great. But this is a small problem, but it's over millions of people, at the end of the day. So I do feel pretty prideful about that. And I feel energized that I have created something of value that can go on my resume and I can say, feel proud that, hey, here's something that a lot of people were able to use their hard-earned money. It's not a necessity. It's a convenience thing.
Yeah.
they don't need it. They just want it. And, that feels really good as, someone who can compete with the best product. Anybody can go put a product out there, the best people in the world. So I've been able to do that and find a small niche that, we're able to sell tens of thousands of these things, for regular use and also for promotional use because it makes a great branding tool. So it's a great tool to get people's logos in front of customers. Who would have thought? Right? So you could get a customer in a new product right by someone's nightstand and your brand logo on it. That's
Nice.
adding a lot of value too.
Yeah. So I have a note here. It says build something initiative. I must have got that from something you were doing. Besides having your own product, what else are you doing to help others, entrepreneurs, or those starting up something to build stuff? Like what's going on?
Yeah. So I think I might have briefly mentioned at the beginning of the call the build something mission that we have, and build something initiative, another way to say it. But yeah, the initiative is twofold. At first, because I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I got sober a little over 7 years ago.
Oh,
And
nice.
when I did that, thank you. When I did that, I was advised to go into sober housing, and I'm so glad I did not, because of the particular person that I would have had to deal with who was running the sober house, and they were charging an obscene price. I mean, this was like 7 years ago, and it was like $2,500 a month for one room in a shared house, shared bathroom. I just thought, no, I can't do that. So I was able to stay somewhere else for less, but a lot of people can't do that. So part of our charitable donations are to St. Matthew's House, which builds, maintains, and manages people and help housing for people in early recovery and coming off the street. So I hope that we can use these actual bricks to physically eventually donate enough to build or manage some of these houses.
Oh, so
That
do you take a
organizations
percentage? Do you take a percentage of it or of the sales?
we do.
Or?
It's a percentage. It's a percentage of profits,
Right. Okay.
and it's a small amount right now, very modest. So we're quite small, but I hope that will grow over time.
Yeah.
We try to do an annual fundraiser for them and just bring attention to them as just part of our mission. The other part of that is I speak at local universities, which is great for me to get interns and whatnot. But what I really like about it is the energy that I get back from the students when they can see something that they can totally relate to, like a phone
Tangible.
accessory,
Yeah.
and on a mental level, they can physically see the product. I mean, they can hold it in their hands. It's not something intangible, not something. How did you make that? You can actually see like, oh, they just made it out of silicone. Look, there's a line on it. That's where they molded it. So it's pretty simple. And I think I really have gotten a great reaction. And I've been fortunate to speak with a few people who have ideas and help them further develop their ideas. So yeah, with that build something mission, my goal is basically to just share my knowledge and with other entrepreneurs. Happy to talk to anyone. And Nick@CordBrick.com is my email address, about their idea and how I can help them grow it, develop it, whatever else. Because that is the most rewarding part for me, is kind of seeing other people bring their ideas to life.
To give back, yeah.
Just like I've been able to do with mine. It's been so rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's why I have this podcast, because I want to, besides wanting and loving to talk about business, I hope it impacts other people, and it's a way to give back, and so on and so forth. So, do you have a next big idea?
So I have two main products in development right now that I'm hoping to get out by the beginning of next year.
Awesome.
Probably one for sure. The other one I'm not so sure about if we're about to get it out by next year. It's not coming together quite as I had wanted by this point, and we're getting to the point where we might have to push it to the next fall or something like that.
Yeah.
But next spring we should have another one out, and it's totally different. It's nothing to do with cords, but it is a brick. I'll say that much.
It's another brick.
It's a brick. It may not look exactly like a brick.
Yeah.
These are pretty squarish and rectangularish. We got the desk brick and we got the cord brick, but it is a brick. And when you see it, you'll say that is a brick. I get it. Makes sense. So when I have some of those, I'll let you
building
know.
Your overall brand is just bricks. You're just you're just going to provide
Yeah,
bricks
just
for all
tons of
kinds
bricks.
of all
That's
kinds
right.
of things, solving
That's
all
right.
kinds of problems.
All kind. You got it. That's the brand.
Well, can you make a brick that we can just throw at people?
I mean, we might have to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe make it a rubber though. Anyway, No, it was really, really great to get to know your story, and there's so many lessons in there. Like, we picked out a few. You're doing amazing things, helping people build more in the world, and with your energy, I could totally see you on stage and sharing your story and at a college or whatever, and inspiring a lot of people. If somebody wanted to, well, obviously, CordBrick is at cordbrick.com.
Yes, sir. CordBrick.com.
That's your website. If somebody wants to pick up that product, I might actually check it out myself. And do you hang out on the World Wide Web anywhere, like LinkedIn or Twitter, or where are you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. CordBrick's on all social media sites. You can follow us at CordBrick on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I think we're even on TikTok, Pinterest. Nice. I don't do the TikTok myself, but yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn. Just search Nick Barrett, CordBrick, and there I am.
Very good. All right, thanks for joining us, Nick. Until next time.
Thanks, Matt.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.